Connecting. And we are live. Good evening, Facebook and YouTube. As we are streaming today, just as always, we are streaming through StreamYard, using StreamYard, streaming through Facebook as well as YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. We are Ronnie and Yasheka's dating discussion. And listen, as we bring in the new year or get ready for the new year, listen, we have some new material coming up for you guys. And if you watched the 12 Days of Christmas or if you did not watch 12 Days of Christmas, make sure you go back and do so. I am Yasheka Foster. I am the artist of dating, affectionately known as the artist of dating. I empower successful women to learn to date with intentions through self discovery while finding the love of their life and having the ability to balance it all. And my handsome co host this evening.
Good evening, everyone, and continued holidays to each and every one of you. Hoping that each and all of you had a holiday that you had anticipated to have, as well as going into now a new year. My name is Ronnie Walker. I am the master coach of exceptional dating, relationships, and sex, approaching all three through the way of self development. And so, pretty much, I empower men and women, relationships and single, in terms of life coaching, sex coaching, dating coaching, and relationship transformations. And I thank you and welcome you all.
And welcome to another Thursday. Another Thursday. We are back to our regularly scheduled programs. And today, Ronnie, we are not going to do our little generic commercial because we need to get that commercial up and running. We need to get a
Yes, we
real
are. Yeah.
commercial, okay? But we're not going to do the 30-second countdown. But while you guys come in and you allow StreamYard to access you so that we can know who you are when you do a post, we're just going to get right into it. Today we are talking about setting boundaries with friends and family when I say again, when you are the one dating. You guys know how it always goes. Whenever you are in a relationship, you got friends and family who always has an opinion about what he or she would not allow someone else to do, or they'll say, girl, you should leave him. Girl, I wouldn't take that if I was you. Girl, girl, girl. And so today, Ronnie thought it would be a great idea that we talk about boundaries for those of you who are in relationships or marriages or whatever, and you used to turn into your friends to get some advice. And so we have some helpful tips and tools for you guys today to use moving forward in your relationship. And Ronnie, you're up.
It's funny because just as quick when you said girl, here's what the men hear. We hear, bruh, let me holler at you for a second. And it's always that one time when you're with the group of guys, and then there's always that one, sometimes two. And gentlemen, we can all relate that there's sometimes it's for all four. When there's a convention or intervention of something that nature, they want to sit you down because they notice that there's a change in the way you're moving. And of course, I think it was apropos to discuss this because now we're in the holiday season. And with the holiday season comes family gatherings. And with family gatherings, talking about the future or the past. The past meaning if you came with someone new this particular time around, as opposed to someone who happened, you're going to get those who are the experts who said that they knew that this wasn't going to last, and is this one going to last? And let me give you some pointers on what you need to do. Or that old uncle who had a little too much of whatever it was that he's drinking on his nephew. And then even then, here's what I will say. I truly believe, or let's just say, I choose to believe that these people really are coming from a good place. However, the power of discernment, development, and again, these are things that she and I will coach you on, is knowing the difference between, excuse me, 1 second. Yeah, okay. It felt like I was going to sneeze for a second there, a cough. Okay, it was a cough. So there's a time when you really have to assess what you're hearing. And this is where the discernment comes in. Because we all know that there are times when the person, friend or family, is really not coming from a safe space. Coming from a space of envy, or they're trying to deflect from their situation, that misery enjoys company, And so this is where the boundaries happen. So, whether well intended or not, what you want to get better at is boundaries. Now, mind you, there are those, and I'm sure Yashika will agree, who have no problem setting up the boundaries. Some people have circles where, hell, that's never an issue because they know that you're not for the BS. However, there are those because they don't want to alienate family members or hurt the feelings of a friend who they believe means well. They don't want to set that up. And I'm telling you, for your own mental health, as well as for your health of the future relationship you may be embarking on, it's really important that you set that up. So I'm just going to go on a little longer here, Yashika, because I want to talk to the men. And this is very important from the men's aspect because there are those who will have you believe that men don't have these discussions. And I can tell you, unequivocally, men have these discussions. And there are those things where you're on, and okay, let's just say you were in a situation where your past experiences wasn't that glorious. But this one is. And so let's just say, for the sake of argument, that they're coming from a space where they really want the best for you. I mean, they're jealous, or they notice that you're moving funny because the last 3 times you moved funny, it didn't work out, and then you come back, and they brought you back into the group. But see, gentlemen, we have to, if we're going to call ourselves friends, is understand that men, we're wired for the rejection, we're wired for the letdowns. We don't like it. But again, like anything else, we want to get better at showing the support. In a lot of cases, we are. But know when and when not to add our 2 cents. So for a clear indication, if he asks you, then say what you need to say. And again, start from just say, look, brother, I'm just coming to you from what I'm seeing. Because the truth is, fellas, in most cases, we only go by what we see and what this person shares with us. But sometimes we have to be honest. If that we are lending our 2 cents, we have to be real honest about the space in which we're sharing it. Or is it something that we're projecting from our messed up situation? If we're single, it also could be a challenging situation, even though you're in a relationship. And remember, what you may be dealing with may sound similar, but may not be the same. So sometimes, gentlemen, use your discernment and say, you know what, I may not be the best person to speak on your situation, but here's what I'm talking to you, brother. I wish you both the best. You may have a coach that you can refer, Yasheka or Ronnie, in terms of that, because now you have this resource. So be honest if you're the one giving the advice. And also respect. Don't take it personal. Things change within the network of the brothers when someone new comes along. She may be cool with you. She may not be cool with you. There are different stories that we can have concerning this. But men, I know we really have to be in tune with each other on this, because see, the way I see it is, as men, we're the ones providing the vision, the direction, the leadership in this relationship. And so what we want to do is be our brother's keeper in this space and make sure that we're providing some support in which way we can. So if there's some stuff that you can comment on and you're being asked, share that. If not, and it's not your space, or you're too clear, then just be honest with that. But just don't make up stuff just for the sake of whatever. Because obviously, he respects your opinion and your guidance in this situation. And okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to refer it back to you, Yasheka. Is there
No,
anything
I totally understand. And all I could think about when I was typing up this subject was things that we encounter as women. Um, and I've never personally experienced any type of unsolicited advice from family or friends, right? If I was going through something in any relationship, it was always solicited advice. And as a matter of fact, I know some friends who were encouraging me in one relationship to do something opposite than what I had already planned to do, you know? But I'm a firm believer that if I am have a specific subject or my status is specific, whether I'm married or engaged or something like that, and I'm having issues, I believe that me personally, I would probably turn to someone who is going through the same things or who have been through the same thing as me. So in other words, if I'm a married woman, or if I'm in a relationship who, I've been with someone a couple of years, I'm going to find someone who kind of matches that when it comes to advice or what would they do in this situation. Um, I wouldn't turn to someone that's single or who hopscotches in relationships, right? I would if I'm going through something, I've been with someone 4 or 5 years, I'm going to find someone else because I know one of my friends have a relationship that's just as long, right? And or something similar to it. And so I would turn to them and ask them for advice because I think that I will want someone who understands what I'm going through, as opposed to someone who, I mean, because granted, we all can have a certain level of empathy for a person, but unless you've really been through it, you don't really know what that person is going through. And so that's all I could think about when I thought about this subject was just things that people go through and advice. And if it was me in that situation, who would I turn to for certain advice? And that's just like if I was married. If I was married, when it comes to what should I do or what would I do, I would definitely turn to someone else who's married and say, "Hey, this is what's going on in my relationship. I don't know what to do." I would turn to someone that is married because it makes a difference. It really does make a difference. Because I mean, granted, if I had some single friends and they were advising me about some things in my relationship, if I was married, I would listen to them. But for the most part, though, I wouldn't really take what they're saying most because they don't know what I'm going through. They don't know the situation. I even had one friend that told me one time when I was married, they were married as well. And they made the comment, they was like, well, you should just divorce him, you know. And I had already, that we were walking down that aisle as far as what I was gonna do. But it was no encouragement there to do anything opposite. It was more of, well, this is what you should do. And if it was me, this is what I would do. But then when that friend was in that same situation, you best believe they didn't do that. You know what I mean? And so it almost made me believe that, well, wait a minute now, you are, wanting me this to do this, but
Hmm.
now that you're in it, you didn't do the same thing. So that's why I would never take advice from someone that unless they've been through what I'm going through, I would hear what they have to say because everybody has their opinion about things. But for the most part, though, I wouldn't run away with it. And sometimes that information, that advice or those opinions are solicited, and sometimes they're unsolicited. And if I solicit you, then yes. But if I don't, then no. And that's where my boundaries are.
See, if those are not clear cut reasons to create boundaries, then I, I got nothing for you. I mean, this is why. And again, see, it may sound like shameless plugs, and in some places it is. This is the reasons. These are the reasons for therapists and coaches. It really is. Again, because some of us, admittedly, are in a space where we don't sometimes have challenges. It amazes me how sometimes, and I'm sure again, Yashika, you may run this where you have people who want to have, they want to qualify you, and you must have 2,400 million degrees before they spend one penny with you to get your enlightened, well studied, structured, counsel for them. And yet, they sit here and call into a radio show or event on Facebook wanting some sort of answers to some questions from a whole bunch of people. They have no idea who they are and what they're going through. And if there's anything you hear, and see, this goes back to what you were just saying. Look how quick someone else will tell someone to cut somebody off. If, if there's anything you see on the timeline today is how quick someone's could talk about, and they brag as it's some great skill. Oh, I cut you off with the quickness, and I have no problem. I give 0 Fs. You hear it all, and of course, there's reasons behind that. Sometimes maybe justifiably. Sometimes people are just in a bad mood, but they say that to their friends and family without any real, again, instead of just saying, you know what, I was looking at this young lady here on YouTube or Facebook. I think you should reach out to her. Nope, no, just cut them off. These bums, these dusties, just let them go. Then, when it's to them, they'll give you every reason under the sun as to why you should stick it out. And so again, this is, these are clear-cut reasons as to why you have boundaries. I can assure you, especially in a time and season as it is right now, and then add on, we're in the middle of still in a pandemic, to create boundaries you need. And that also includes at work. You don't want people at work all up in your business. There are spaces and there are resources that you could use, that you can go to do this. And we're two of them. So if for anything, you and your future relationship or the relationship you're in and the vision that you've created for is worth investing to. And if you have some challenges as to how to go about setting up those boundaries, this is what we're here for. This is why we do what we do. This is why we have the Dating Discussions website. This is why we have the YouTube channel, so that we can give you a space to go to get the information you need for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is not limited to and that was the question I was going to ask you. Is it limited? If I'm soliciting advice from a friend, I'm a woman. So in your opinion, should I talk to other women about certain things dealing with my man partner, or should I talk to a man, or does it matter about genders?
I will believe, and here's, it's really going to come down to what it is that you're discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to make sure that once you've accepted the fact that the way men internalizes and the way we perceive things is different than the way women does, then that will help you in your decision.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we're talking about he gets upset because you have a habit of leaving the cap off the toothpaste, then that's a different, that's something that you can speak to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in any case, and here's what I've said, in any case, if it's something that you're having a challenge or you figure that you're not, communicating to him effectively and you're trying to understand his psyche, then yes, I would say yes, go speak to a man about it. Mm-hmm. I know for me personally, if I'm in that space and I'm having a little challenge, I'm sure, with someone like me, I can go look at the resources, on some past coaching or whatever that may be. But I'm more likely, if it's something that I'm trying to understand how I'm getting the response I'm getting, then maybe it's because I'm expecting you to communicate to me as a man.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm going to reach out to a woman. But now, again, this is where for me, as opposed to my friend who's a girl, this is where, again, I'm going to play it safe and go invest in a session with someone.
Yeah, well, most people. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and I get it, because again, I want to make sure that I'm also speaking to someone who spoke to a number of women. So it's not just the one or two friends. And again, I just think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I just think it's worth it.
But I think that most people, when it just comes to regular advice and setting boundaries with your friends and your family,
Mm-hmm.
Now there is a time when, maybe there are some things that a person doesn't see that other people do see, right? So let's just go way out there in far left field and say, if the relationship is abusive, right? Whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever, an abusive relationship, and someone says that to you. And here's where you have to use your own discernment and say, okay, am I really, maybe this advice wasn't solicited, but maybe this is something that I need to hear. And so what would those boundaries look like in terms of that person that's on the receiving end? Like, in other words, how do you know when to take good advice versus bad advice when it comes to something like that?
Okay. If there's one thing that so I'll just make it about me here. What I've learned and appreciated is that some of the most powerful advice and counsel I've gotten was from unexpected people. And thank goodness I was able to be in a space where, in the minute I'm going, hold on, A, I didn't answer this. B, I said, okay, so then, although I didn't, why is it giving me this feeling that this makes some sort of sense? And see, this is when, again, doing the work on yourself, it just puts you in a better place because sometimes we miss great advice by being in the wrong state. So, again, that's when you say, okay, you may not be feeling it right this moment. So let me just lean back and just say, you know what, I'm going to process this a little later. But right now, I'm not in the mood to hear this. And do that. Because again, you can read a book 1 year ago and then read the same book this year, and you get two different messages from it, or as an extended message on what you had read before. It's the same. You could be mad when this person is telling you something you want to hear. And sometimes what tends to happen is there's that little pinch that hits you that says, you know what, you really need to tune in on this. The intuition or that inner voice or something. And again, this is when, again, working on yourself helps you in this space. And then you say, look, I ain't asking for advice. Yeah, I'm not good. But look, I'll think about it. All right, because we've all done it. All right, you know, and then you shake your head. Yeah, I hear you. Yep, okay, All right, well, that's it. I'm going to go now. And maybe on that drive home, or maybe while you're having a glass of wine or cognac and you're saying, you know what? Damn, that did make some sense. Or, you know, because sometimes even our need to be right clouds our judgment. You know, we go through a whole range of stuff based on when it hits. But if we really take the time to say, you know what, this is making a little sense. Let me explore this further. So that's what I've done in the past. Because I can approach you, you'll never know when that great advice will hit. And it's just usually in the least expected time and places.
Or when that person on the receiving end of that advice is very much, they don't want to hear anything anybody says that's opposite of what they want. You know, even in a situation with, like I said, an abusive person, like my example before, you know, you can see that that's not a healthy relationship. Someone on the outside looking in can see that that's not a healthy relationship, no matter what. But you have it in your mind that I'm going to make this relationship work. I am going to fix this relationship. We're going to be together. I don't care what it takes, right? And so in the meantime, that person who's enduring that abuse is getting deeper and deeper into it. And then on top of that, their self-esteem, their worth, and all the things that we think about is getting deeper and deeper bedded into the ground. And then the family or the friends are sitting back and saying, listen, I told you, you know what I mean? This is something, I need you to be able to see this. So what advice would you give someone that's in a situation like that? Well, even if it's someone who is playing the field on that person, and you know that that person is playing the field, you know, what advice would you give them? Or if you were coaching someone in that thing, and they were going through that, and they knew that what their friends and family was saying probably is correct, but they don't want to hear it because they want to make it fit, they want to make it work. Rather, that person that they're dealing with is either abusive in some kind of way, or if they're, you know, an adulteress or whatever. What advice would you give them?
Here is where okay, let me just put it, and I don't want to make it seem too simplistic, but chances are, and I've run across this, that no matter who has what they need to hear, if they don't want to hear it, it can be the Pope himself. They don't want to hear it. And well, in certain situations, and well, I would say in all situations, if you're a praying person, pray and put it in God's hands, and hope that based on what it is, they don't end up seriously hurt or dead. In other situations, some of them will learn, let's just say an adultery situation, it's going to come out and they'll find out, they'll get hurt. Now, if at that time, once it all hits the fan and they come to you, what I'm going to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to do, as hard as it may seem, and that is not to say, I told you so. You just want to say whatever you need. What do you need? What do you need? How can I support you during this pain or this rebirth? But I can assure you, I've seen time, and people have spent the money. Sometimes you think they spend the money, invest the money in a consult just because they want some sort of confirmation. Mr. Ronnie, come on, you have to, Mr. Positive, you have to see something. Why are you taking their side? And I don't even know the family. They say, oh, you sound just like my family. And they're on a hunt to find someone to go along with the program. And if you're ethical and you're on, you're not going to. You're going to say what needs to be said. And you say, look, take some time, think about it, pray on it, and just know I'm here. That's all you can do. But I'm telling you, there are times they don't want to hear anything but their own voice. And they're going to justify it no matter what. And you just have to say, let them keep that door open so that when what happens, what you fear may happen, just may happen. Or sometimes it hits them. Maybe you were that person. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean it happens in real time. Sometimes it's on that way home. Sometimes it's in that song when they put on the radio on the way home that said exactly what you said and everybody in the family said, and bam. And then she says, you know what, damn, this is a sign. This thing, I'm hearing this way too much. And then it hits them. But when a person doesn't want to hear you, I can promise you, there's not a damn thing anyone can say or do. They're just in that state.
That's true, and I 100% believe that. And look, and I believe in the signs too. When you're going through something and you just turn the radio on, and whatever the radio is playing, that's your song, right? But and I received that. I received that from a coaching perspective, as well as in the future of my own personal perspective. When someone is going through something, you can't really get them to see it. They have to go through it themselves. But in terms of setting boundaries, how would someone set boundaries to make sure, like what does those boundaries look like? Does it look like, well, I am going through this relationship, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and I don't want to hear anything anybody else has to say? What does it look like from the person that's setting the boundaries to their friends and family?
Just that simple. It's just that simple. Just let them know, you appreciate, where they're coming from. And I know you mean well, but I need you as a friend, as a family, to respect my decision in this space. So just let me do me, and it may help the person who's there to stop talking to them about it. If you're setting the boundaries, then part of that is on you. Mm-hmm. Just you're not saying anything to them. This is where you don't want any feedback, but don't don't just leave them as some sort of silent sounding board. No, if you're setting the boundaries, then whatever you're dealing with, then you deal with it. Mm-hmm. But don't sit up here and then say that, go on, and then they're sitting there like, well, okay, so where's the boundary that you set? Because I'm not going to sit up here and waste my time for something I can say when I, with all the good heart, trying to help you through this. Mm-hmm. Or give you what I felt is good advice. So if you're setting the boundaries, then set the damn boundaries. Mm-hmm. And know that you take the lead in this space. So let them know how you feel. They're not to share anything of what they feel, no matter how hard it is for them.
Right.
But you also keep them out of what's going on concerning the situation. Two-way street.
And what are some other ways that boundaries look? Because I know a lot of times When a person is in a relationship, they set boundaries about what they want their family to comment on or their friends and family to comment on, right? But what I do notice, and I'm going to say this before I get to the other part of my question, is that sometimes what happens in situations like that is that that person will turn to their friend or their family or whatever and tell them all the things that's going on with Joe over here, right? All the things that's going on with Joe. Like they want that person to be their person that you come in and you like, he did, and you just start going off, right? And then you call back 2 days later and you tell him something else Joe did, and it's just going on and on and on and on. And then when that person starts to give you advice or offer you some suggestions, now you don't want to hear because it doesn't align with what you have to say. And I think that in turn is not a fair thing to do to people, but I know people do it all the time. But when in terms of relationships, and I just wanted to put that out there, but in terms of relationships or when you are the one dating, what are some other areas aside from, don't do that, or what's that little meme, don't do that, girl, or I'm not going to do it. What is that little meme, baby? Don't do it, I'm not going to do it. What are some other areas in which people should set boundaries with family and friends when they're the one that are dating? Does it always have to be dealing with talking about that person? Because I know some people have like house boundaries. Like, there are certain times when don't come to the house, because me and my friend or me and my boo or whoever are there, or when you come, whatever. What are some other boundaries in relationships that is good for family and friends to know, um, that they need to have set it boundaries for that person when they're in a relationship?
Okay, there's a number of things that you want to unpack it, so I'm going to hope I cover them all. I remember learning that being in a relationship when the girlfriend at that time, when she tells me about whatever her day is and the problems of her day, or it could be a friend girl that is venting you, and you or the guys, and it's like he's telling you everything about his girlfriend, and everything, every problem, whatever the case may be. However, they get an issue when you give them what you feel is advice. And men are problem solvers. We're wired this way. You're telling us, we assume that you're looking for a solution. Well, what we do find is that some people don't want a solution. They just want to be heard. They want to vent. However, if you're in this position, gentlemen, ladies, be clear. If you are not going to adhere to the no advice zone and just say, look, then you set the boundaries. Listen, it's hard. It's a big challenge for me to hear you complain about this situation, about this man or whatever. And then when I say, you don't want to hear. So I'd rather you not say anything because I want you to be happy. Just understand how I feel about this. Or let's just say they're venting and going through whatever. Here is what you do. And this works 100% of the time. You can say, let's just say this. Sharon, are you telling me this because you want a solution, which you feel I believe is a solution, or are you just venting? And then from that point, shut up and let them answer the question. And each and every time they come into this, you ask them that. And here's what will happen. They know that if they're going to come to you, they will let you know in advance. And say, look, okay, this I need you to help me with. And then you listen in because now you're looking for the solution and things of this nature. Or just listen, I just need you to just, hear me. I just need to vent. And then what you do, get your glass of red or white, sit down, and just let her go. And then when she feels better, thank you for listening. And you say, no problem, I'm here anytime. And you go on that way. So you find out up front what kind of state you need to be in before the the word salad starts. And that makes it easier on you. You respect her boundaries. She respects your boundaries that you've set. Because you need to, because now she knows that you're going to act one way or the other based on what she's telling you. And that really works. And now there was another one, I think I got so into that the other part of that. So maybe you can refresh the question.
No,
Or
that's
did that answer it?
yeah, you answered it. You absolutely answered
Okay.
it. I guess I never really had much experience with this, and I think part of my being is because of the life I lived prior to 2016. I wasn't around a lot of friends and family. Most of my friends were in passing because of what we did for a living, and so they weren't constantly around. Everybody was just trying to just make it. You know what I mean? Just let's if you're in a relationship or a healthy relationship or marriage, whatever, let's just it's one for the team. We're winning because it was so stressful the environment that we were in. But for the most part, when it comes to my family, I didn't really have anyone who just felt a need to advise me, about certain things. And maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm lucky in that aspect. I don't know. I just never had to deal with that personally. But I know that there are people out there that do. But I also know that there are people who are in relationships that will tell their family and friends a lot of the negative stuff that's
Yes.
going on in the relationship. So it leads them to draw their own conclusion about that other
Right.
person. And so that is something that I think that people need to really be cognizant of when they do that. Like, you can't tell me, all these things about John, and then when I'm telling you, well, listen, John doesn't seem like he's good for you. You telling me, Yashika, you don't know
Right.
what you're talking about.
Ex-
And you
there
didn't tell
you
me
go.
all the things that John did. John did everything except make a baby in the streets. You know what I'm saying? But he done made you go to the clinic. He done did all these things that you didn't think you need to do. But you want me to encourage this shit with John? Like, I'm just not going to do it. But that's just me.
Right.
But like I said, I also know that people tell what they want to tell, and they don't tell the whole story as well. But I'm just never that person to say, well, if I was you, I would do this when it comes to their significant other. I'm just never that person because
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know what I would do in the situation, because the things that I tolerated in my 20s, I may not tolerate in my 40s, and vice versa. So yeah. So I mean,
Exactly. And see, that's part of the challenge too. For those of you who have a friend, male or female, that you've been to, understand that, and just what you said, it was so perfect. What you may have told that friend last month, you may get a different response the next month because she may have grown. She may see things different. She may have witnessed or experienced some stuff in her own life that says, you know what? And this is why, again, when people say, and I love that, that answer said, listen, I don't know what I do in that situation, because truth be told, there are many situations a lot of people say this is what they would do, and the moment of truth comes, and they do the exact damn opposite of what they said they were going to do. And then the friend is sitting there like, wait a minute, hold on, what the hell? You just said, you told me 2 weeks ago you would, and see, this is yet another reason why you put yourself in a position. You know what? I'm not the best person you need to have or ask for advice for in this, because I don't know.
mm-hmm.
And so it's really, again, we're getting back to knowing who you are,
Yeah.
so that when these things come up, and I can assure you, if you have friends, they will. If you have friends that are dating, friends that are in a relationship, friends that are married, these things are going to come up. And so knowing what you're capable of and what you're not capable of, and what you know, what you don't know, is crucial, because you can be a much better friend by just directing someone like us to give them or provide them the resources they need, as opposed to coming off the top of your head because you didn't want to seem unsupportive. And then again, the decision that they make to accept what you say or not is still up to them. But
Mm-hmm.
again, you don't want to sound as though you don't know what the hell you're talking about. So if you don't know, then just say that and direct them to someone who does. Hey, let's look at this, together. I'll go with you. I'll show some support. I'll go down with you to the place or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's the best thing that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's yet a boundary that's set without it being set. It's there
Mm-hmm.
because they realize that that's a person that, you know what, if they don't know, they don't know. But I know I can count on Yasheka to take me to where, or direct me to where I need to be in this particular time in my relationship or dating.
And one thing I would say to anybody out there who's in the situation, And I said this earlier to you, Ronnie. When I get married again, I will have some older couple, as my sounding board, because I said that because when I went through my second marriage, that was something that I wish I did have, someone that I could really turn to that did not have a dog in a fight. In other words, no one who wasn't in my family, or you know, um, which I had my grandmother there or my grandparents or whatever. But I wanted someone that was just straight, like just gonna give me some sound advice. And I said that's something I will make sure that I have in my next marriage, is someone who, an older couple who's been married for a while, that understands that people are people and that things are going to happen and no one's perfect, and then give you some things or some advice in which they handled it, or some things that worked out for them, or some things that did not work out for them, whatever. But I definitely wouldn't have, as a single woman, I wouldn't feel comfortable unless they came for me coaching or whatever. I wouldn't feel comfortable advising a married person, friend, because I feel that times are different, meaning that what I went through, I was last time I was married was more than 10 years ago. There are a lot of things that's different. This platform is different. Instagram is different. There are a lot of things that's different, which plays a part on relationships in a lot of ways. And so I would just say that to anyone who's out there who's in a relationship, find you some friends whose relationship status is the same as yours. And if you can find someone who is a little bit older than you, that's even better. And I just wouldn't, if I'm a married woman, I would not take advice from a single woman in regards to relationship, even if that person was married before. You understand what I'm saying? In terms of being
Hmm.
one of my friend girls, and I would listen to her, but I wouldn't take it and run with that advice. And when I say I wouldn't take advice from them, I'm not talking about not talk to them, but I would not take their information or their advice and run with it. I would still have my own discernment about whatever they said, mixed with whatever that person said, mixed with whatever that person said. And then I would make my own decision. But you have people out here just straight up telling people, if I was you, I would do this. If I was you, I would do that. And that's not good advice. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
you don't know
Hmm.
what, like we said earlier, we don't know what you'll do in certain situations, especially depending on what time it is. Meaning that, like I said earlier, the things that I tolerated in my 20s, I won't tolerate in my 40s. And then things that I tolerated in my 40s, I may not have tolerated in my 20s. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
everything about my viewpoint of the world and relationships are not the same that it was when I was in my 20s. I mean, it just isn't. I think in the 20s we were more easier. It was easier to just throw in the towel, because you knew you had
Yes.
the whole world, you had the whole world out there. But when as you start getting older, you realize that some things are more important than other things. And so you're more, susceptible to just say, you know what, let me do this instead, or let's try this instead, instead of just saying, you know what, I don't have to deal with this, I'm out. So I wouldn't have had that viewpoint of trying to work it out in my 20s, especially if it was someone that I was just dating and it didn't work out. I'm not going to try to make it work. I would go on to the next one. Now, once you're married, of course, it's a little different. But now in my 40s, I would put a little more effort into it, not trying to force it to fit, but make sure that I'm dating from a healed place, or a place of understanding, or I've done my self discovery, so that I can make sure that what I'm asking, or what I'm thinking should happen, is just my expectations and something that I need to fix. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's how I feel
I,
about
I think that's good because you said two very important things. One is that, and I tend to see this, and it really bothers me how we have part of this generation that doesn't respect the wisdom and the
it.
experience of the elders. If there's one thing that I was very, very good at, is learning from other people's mistakes, and be listening to those who've walked the path before me. And that's not to say that you have to take everything that they say, because sometimes they've done some things that were not in their best interest too. But see, that's all part of it, and that's all part of the lesson. So, not I'm saying this because they're older, you should listen to them blindly. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying there are some stories and there's some journeys that a lot of them have to share. And I think that's, if you are so blessed to have that, then great. But there are those of who didn't have that. So if you do have it, cherish that. Really cherish that, because sometimes we do know and realize that the lessons that they taught us we probably didn't get till years later. Also, to us coaches, especially to the single coaches out here, don't take offense to those because everybody has the parameters of who they're going to listen to for counseling and counseling and coaching. And so, if they don't want to speak to a single one and they're married, no matter how many years of study, certifications, success you may have had, then honor that. Don't try to convince them as to why you're still the one. Offer, and I think the ethical thing to do and the right thing to do is to say, look, I know a couple of married coaches that specialize in whatever the challenge is. Let me put you onto them. Get your ego out of it. I've done that many times, many times. This is okay. Well, then I understand that, Ron. I'd really love to. But the one thing that I have a challenge with is A, B, C, or D. And instead of saying, well, look, they've obviously know my credentials. They've seen it. And in most cases, it's from a referral. So I've already been co-signed on. But I want them to get the help that they're looking for. So instead of going into this trying to hard sales closing, listen. So in other words, what you're saying is that you'd feel better if the person you spoke to is someone who's been married, ex, whatever he's been. Great. I have some people in mind. Let me put you on to them and you make the decision yourself. And trust me, it works 100% of the time because they understand you have their best interests, their relationship at first and foremost in the priority. And then there may be some friends or family that they know and guess who they refer them to? Me. Because they know if I'm not the one, then I'm going to direct them to someone who is the one. So again, there are those things that we have to respect. Again, even as coaches, we have to respect the boundaries of the people who come to us because they're looking for something and take it as a pat on the back if you're the one that came to for it, even if you're not the one who ends up working with them.
Yeah.
And this is, again, where we have to also open our boundaries to other people in collaboration. What you and I are doing here. It's just not about you. It's just not about me. It's about things. I can assure you that there's people who's going to come to me that I know that you are a better fit for. And I'm going to direct them that way. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
So those are two good things that you covered there. That's great.
I mean, and I don't have to be, when it comes to the profession, meaning, a therapist, a counselor, a coach, or social worker, someone like that, they don't have to be credentialed. But I'm just talking about in terms of, excuse me, I'm not saying that type of advice. I'm talking about in terms of when it comes to my friend circle.
Right.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? When it comes to my friend circle, and I need to probably be specific about that. When it comes to my friend circle. So when it comes to my friend circle, if I'm married, I'm going to seek advice from someone else who's married. If my relationship is hitting a rough spot, not saying that my non-married friends can't tell me maybe they've been through some things similar, or maybe they told me whatever. But for the most part, though, I'm going to make sure that I keep people around me that I can really, get the good stuff from. The stuff that you've been married. I have friends who have never been married. And if I'm in a marriage, they can't even tell me what happened in their marriage. You know what I mean? If they've never been married, so I would definitely want to talk to someone that's in my friend circle who either has been married or who is married. I would definitely not take marital advice from my friend because they're going to always put in the professional world of coaching and counseling and therapy and things like that. I want to believe that people like us do not bring our personal issues to the table. You know what I mean? I want to believe that what they're doing is about a book, but just as you said, if a person feels more comfortable, if they're seeking relationship, like I wouldn't as a coach. Now, this is not me as a therapist, but me as a coach, I would not want to coach someone in a marriage. That's just me because I'm not married. And I say that because I don't know if what I bring to the table is me giving them the answer in which I need to, according to the book, according to whatever manual we use, or is it my own stuff that I'm bringing to the table? You know what I mean? And I think people sometimes they want to believe that they're the one size fit all and everything, and they're not. They're not. they're not.
Yeah, that's true.
Know, but that's
True.
why I deal with dating and relationships. I'm an expert at those things. The marriages, I've been there, done that twice, but I wouldn't consider myself an expert. So I would point them to someone who knows what the tough times look like, knows what to, what's going on or whatever they explain. Because, like I said, things have changed since the last time I was married. It's a lot has changed in these 10 years, and so that's just me. But that's just me, humble enough to say that I wouldn't want to do that. Because I don't think, I just think, there's people out there that helps couples in marriages. And I have one friend, shout out to Leslie Castilla, that does, if your relationship is in trouble, she helps you where if there's only one person fighting for the relationship, she have coached
Yeah,
people
she's good. Yes.
yeah, to different things. And so that is her thing. That is, so I would definitely point someone there in the coaching world who's going through some things and they don't really understand, and they want to talk to someone. So she would definitely be a good fit. But marriages, no, I'm not doing that. So, but anyway, is there some last minute things that you wanted to say before we end this live?
Yes, there is. I want everybody to like, share, and subscribe to the broadcast. I mean, listen, we've been dropping some Jews. I'm just gonna go on the whole brag train right now because listen, this stuff is good. Again, we go deeper on a much more customized basis. And in the master classes that are coming up that we're designing is gonna touch and it's gonna go even deeper. Again, but I can assure you, you can take what we've been sharing these past couple of weeks and take it all the way to the bank, take it all the way to a healthy space for you and for for whom you are looking for. So you go to YouTube and the channel's there, subscribe, like, and share. You go to Facebook and do the Dating Discussions Facebook group and get in on there. And of course, spread the word. So I could have gone into another thing, but I just wanted to share this because I truly believe this is great stuff. And I really want people, and I know we want people as we're going into the final hours of a new year, that it doesn't have to start officially on the 1st. You can start tonight after what you're hearing here. So create your boundaries, whatever they are, and take that with the 12 days of Christmas that we shared and take your relationships and your future relationships to another level.
Absolutely.
That's all that I have to say for that.
Absolutely. And just as always, like Ronnie said, if you are here for the first time, make sure you just let us know that you're here. Put something in the comment. If it's something you want to see, you can reach out to us, and our information is in the description of this video. Send us an email, a text message, DMs, or whatever. And if something you just want specific, a question answered, we will definitely answer it, and we will probably even do a live to address the issue that you're having.
Yes.
If you are catching this on a replay, make sure to hashtag replay to let us know that you've been here and that you've watched our videos, because we need those video watches. And so, as always, I thank you so much for being here, and you guys have a good night.
Good night, everyone. Take care.
And Happy New Year to everybody.
And yes, Happy New Year to each and every. Happy New Year.
All right, Ronnie, have a good one.
You
Bye.
too now. Bye-bye.